Phil Yates, and today we're going to look at anti-aircraft fire and the Team Yankee rules. The first thing we're going to look at is who can shoot at aircraft. With strike aircraft like this Su-25 Frogfoot or this low-flying A-10 Warthog, the only things that can shoot at them are anti-aircraft weapons. They will have AA as part of their weapons description. So examples of that are this M163 Vulcan here, which is armed with an M168 20mm Vulcan Gatling AA gun. The Shilka here, ZSU-23-4 Shilka, armed with a 23mm 2A7 AA gun. The Gopher here, likewise, has a SA-13 Gopher AA missile. This SA-14 Gremlin infantry team, likewise, is an AA weapon, as are the machine guns on the tops of these tanks. So all of them can fire at strike aircraft. Helicopters like this Mi-24 Hind and the AH-1 Cobra fly lower and slower than strike aircraft and are easier to hit. Not only can they be shot at by the same weapons that can fire at strike aircraft, but there are other weapons that can shoot at them as well. These weapons include anything with the anti-helicopter special rule. For instance, the cannon on these helicopters have the anti-helicopter special rule and can shoot at other helicopters. Likewise, this BMP-2, its 30mm 2A42 gun has the anti-helicopter special rule, so it can shoot at helicopters. Other things that can shoot at helicopters are guided missiles. So for instance, this Dragon team or the Spandrel on top of this BMP-2. Infantry teams can also shoot at helicopters as long as they're not heavy weapons. This means that the AK-74 team and the RPG-7 team can also shoot at helicopters. Now, you can shoot at aircraft in your normal shooting step, but you can also shoot at them in the enemy turn. So, just before the helicopter or aircraft fires its weapons, you can fire your own anti-aircraft weapons back at them. This is particularly important when you've got something like a strike aircraft, which is only going to be on the table during the enemy turn. You can only shoot at it in the enemy turn just before it shoots. Now, that timing is important because the enemy can shoot other weapons first, so they can attempt to knock out your AA weapons with their ground weapons before the aircraft arrive. But once the aircraft have started shooting, the AA weapons shoot first, then the aircraft shoot. Note that since the cannon on the helicopters are also anti-helicopter weapons, they will get a chance to shoot before an enemy helicopter attempting to shoot at them. The big penalty though for shooting at an aircraft in the enemy turn is that you will not be able to defensive fire in the same turn, you will not be able to assault in the same turn, and nor will you be able to fire that weapon in your normal shooting step. One of the other things about shooting in the enemy turn is that you have shot. So in the next enemy turn, you will count as having shot and won't be gone to ground, and if they're shooting at you at night, you will be visible. Now, when you're firing anti-aircraft fire, the line of sight is never blocked. You can always see an aircraft anywhere on the table, whether it's a helicopter or a strike aircraft. Conversely, the helicopter or strike aircraft can see you no matter where it is on the table. Now, that includes if there's a smoke screen or a building or anything in the way, it doesn't matter. So, shooting from here to here, there's a guaranteed line of sight. Concealment, though, is a different matter. In this situation, with a helicopter out in the open and this Vulcan here behind the low terrain, the short terrain here, there is no concealment in either direction. However, tall terrain, such as this building, does offer concealment as long as the ground target or the ground vehicle is within 4 inches or 10 centimetres and of course concealed by it. So in this case, the Vulcan is concealed from the aircraft, but the aircraft is not concealed from the Vulcan. If the Vulcan was hiding here, behind the building, then they'd both be concealed from each other. The building is giving concealment to the aircraft because it is within 4 inches, 10 centimetres of the ground target, and vice versa, the ground target is getting concealment because it's within 4 inches, 10 centimetres of the building. If it was way back here, it wouldn't be concealed at all. The American Cobra helicopter, on the other hand, has the hunter-killer special rule. That means that it is able to take advantage of terrain, tall terrain, to gain concealment. So the fact that it is within 4 inches or 10 centimetres of the tall building, and of course on the other side of it from the ZSU 23-4 shilker here, means that it is concealed. Normally, if the building wasn't there, the shilker would be concealed from it because it's in the woods here, but because the shilker is within 2 inches of the edge of the wood doesn't block its or give any of its targets concealment. However, the building here does give the Cobra, which is a hunter-killer, concealment, which allows the Cobra to be much more sneaky about how it goes around the table and keep it alive a lot longer. One of the interesting things about this ZSU 23-4 and this American M163 VATS, the Vulcan, is that they've both got radar, and that special rule gives them extra range when shooting at aircraft. If this A-10 Warthog had just arrived on table and was about to shoot at the ZSU 23-4 shilker here, then the shilker decides to fire in the enemy turn, the American turn, and gets its shot first, as we've discussed. Now when it does so, it shoots with its full rate of fire. So you can see here that the rate of fire, halted rate of fire for the weapon is 6. So the ZSU 23-4 is going to roll 6 dice to try and hit the aircraft and knock it out. If the aircraft survives, then it will shoot back. If in the American turn the ZSU had been too far away to shoot at this Cobra, but during its own turn and its movement step it moved closer and got in range, then it would be shooting with its moving rate of fire in its own turn at the helicopter. Now of course you can't shoot in the enemy turn and then shoot again in your own turn, so if it would have been sitting here and not shot in the enemy turn at the helicopter, it could now shoot at it at its full rate of fire. If instead of a dedicated AA weapon like the ZSU 23-4 shilker, we were going to fire the AA machine gun on this tank, or the anti-tank missile on this BMP here at the helicopter, then the rate of fire is only 1. The way you know that is the ZSU 23-4 shilker is a dedicated AA weapon. The 12.7mm AAMG on the tank isn't a dedicated AA weapon, so despite having a rate of fire of 3 if it's halted or 2 if it's moving, it always gets a rate of fire 1 when shooting at aircraft. Now, because the missile here is rate of fire 1 to start with, it and any other rate of fire 1 weapons, when shooting at aircraft, gain a +1 to hit, a penalty of +1 to hit. This M1 Abrams has 2 AA machine guns, so it's going to roll 1 dice for each when firing at this Mi-24 Hind. Now when these Soviet vehicles fire at the Cobras, let's say the first to fire is the shilker. It fires and scores, say, 2 hits, or make it 3 hits on the Cobras. Like any other shooting, it's going to pick a target and the first hit will be allocated to that target. The remaining hits of those 3 will be allocated evenly across the 2. So 1 will go to the other helicopter and then 1 back to the first. Now, you could, if there was some specific reason, use the mistaken target rule to swap the hits between the helicopters. Once the shilker's shooting is finished, let's say both helicopters survived, then again the SA-13 Gopher shoots, and its hits are again allocated in the same manner. So if it scored 2 hits, first hit would be allocated to whichever aircraft it was using as its target, and the second would be allocated to an adjacent aircraft. Now, just one minor point. You cannot shoot the same weapon at multiple sets of aircraft. If the Americans were making a massed airstrike with Cobras and an A-10 Warthog, then the shilker would need to choose one or the other as its target, and likewise the SA-13. So they could all focus on one of them, or they could split their fire, with say the shilkers going against the helicopters and the SAMs against the aircraft. So let's say a shilker did score 2 hits on this Cobra and 1 on this one. The next thing that's going to happen is the aircraft to take their saves. Now the Cobra has an aircraft save of 5+. So we would just roll 2 dice, 5, that one's saved, no further effect, 1, not saved. This aircraft, a 6. It also saved. So these lucky Cobras saved 2 out of 3 hits. The next thing you do is take the unsaved hit and look at the ZSU 23-4's gun line, and you see it's got a firepower of 5+. So, the Russian player rolls. On a 5+, this helicopter is shot down. 1, no further effect. If it had been a 5+, goodbye Cobra, it's out of the game. As I mentioned earlier, infantry teams can fire at helicopters. However, they must re-roll their firepower tests if successful, unless they are AA teams. So the SA-14 Gremlin here doesn't need to re-roll its firepower tests because it is an AA team. But this AK-74 team here does need to re-roll the test because it's not an AA weapon. So assuming it managed a successful firepower test of 5, it would need to roll again, scoring a 6 in this case, so it confirms the kill and the aircraft is dead. If they'd rolled a 3 on the other hand, then the re-rolled firepower test would be failed and the aircraft would be perfectly safe. Likewise, the RPG would have to re-roll any successful firepower tests, although with a higher firepower it's more likely. Note also the RPG is a rate of fire 1 weapon, so that would be like the missiles, suffering a +1 to hit when it is firing at aircraft.